Welcome to another episode of Lies, Lies, Lies. Today's episode is all about how one young girl learned to weave lies for her mother before ending up in prison for her mother's murder. That's right. Today we are talking about G. Rose and all the lies she told before, during, and after her murder trial. For the remainder of this episode, I will be referring to today's subject as G. Rose or just Rose interchangeably. This is done to respect her name association with the Romani slur. Please buckle in and get ready for a crazy roller coasters of lies, deception, and murder. In order to understand how deception played a role in this case, we have to discuss the case itself. This is not a true crime podcast, so we will not be diving into every detail in this section. However, let me take you back to June 15, 2015, when Rose is being sought after by the Wisconsin Police Department. A chilling post on Dee Dee Blanchard's Facebook, Dee Dee Blanchard being G. Rose's mother, read, "That bitch is dead." And with everything the public believed about Dee Dee and Rose at that time, an urgent search for a potentially kidnapped or harmed Rose began. Let me take you back to 1991, when G. Rose Blanchard was born. This will give us an idea as to why the police were so concerned and thought that they would find Rose dead or harmed. G. Rose Blanchard was born to Dee Dee Blanchard, who at the time was 24 years old. Her father, Rod, at the time was 17 years old. Rod and Dee Dee had only dated for a few months before Dee Dee found out that she was pregnant. Rod, being so young, but also being a Southern man, recounts in an HBO interview that he married Dee Dee because he felt it was the right thing to do. However, just before Rose's birth, Rod realized that young fatherhood was not the life he wanted for himself, and he left Dee Dee as the sole caregiver to Rose. Before Rose was even a year old, Dee Dee had her diagnosed with sleep apnea. This means that Rose would be having difficulty breathing while she was sleeping and had the potential to die while she was asleep. By the age of 8, Dee Dee had managed to get Rose diagnosed with leukemia and muscular dystrophy. Throughout the years, Dee Dee added to the list of illnesses Rose supposedly suffered with. These included seizures, asthma, vision, hearing, and feeding impairments. Although medical testing showed that Rose was not struggling with any of these issues, Dee Dee proceeded to have Rose in a wheelchair with a feeding tube and put through various procedures like having her teeth pulled out. For the entirety of Rose's childhood, she was ordered by her mother to feign these various illnesses because Dee Dee was actively receiving grants, trips, homes, and millions in donations for her honorary job as a single mom of a severely ill young Rose. Nobody, including G. Rose, knew at this time that Dee Dee was subjecting MSP, Munchausen's by proxy, onto her. MSP is a rare and severe behavioral disorder that usually affects mothers. The disorder causes parents to put their child through medical abuse in order to gain attention from the people around them. In Dee Dee's case, the MSP was also allowing her to rein in financial benefits so long as Rose remained ill. Rose has since accepted that what was going on was MSP and what she was going through was medical abuse from her mother. Rose knew she could walk, eat, and did not have cancer, but to appease her mother, she continued to fake it deep into her late teens. In 2012, Rose met her now ex-boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, through an online dating site, and she began to fantasize about a life outside of her mother's medical torture. According to recent interviews, Rose recalls falling in love with Nick and being swept up by the idea of a fairy tale happily ever after with him. One day in 2015, G. Rose decided that it was time Dee Dee meet Nick. Both Nick and Rose knew that Dee Dee would not take a relationship announcement well, so they came up with a different plan. G. Rose would beg Dee Dee to take her to the Cinderella live action movie that had just come out that year. In the movie theater, they would run into Nick, coincidentally. He was going to charm Dee Dee, and then he and Rose would pretend that they'd fallen in love at the movies. The plan didn't go as they imagined because Dee Dee found Nick to be odd and creepy. So Rose and Nick kept the relationship a secret for a little longer. By mid-2015, the plan to rescue Rose from Dee Dee by killing Dee Dee off was well underway. In the interrogation, which we will get into later, it is discovered that Nick murdered Dee Dee in her own home just days before. In the Confessions of G. Rose, a Lifetime documentary directed by Rose, she describes the plan her and Nick came up with to kill Dee Dee. This brings us back to June 2015, when the police were shocked to find Rose well and walking around with her boyfriend Nick. By the end of 2016, both Rose and Nick were convicted for the murder of Dee Dee Rose Blanchard. You might be asking yourself, why? Why would Rose and Nick plan to kill Dee Dee? Why was murder the answer to Rose's freedom from medical abuse? According to Rose, those answers would vary depending on when you ask them.
Questions? Then I had to go to the hospital and get some medicine because I have a seizure disorder.
Okay.
That's what kind of knocked me out.
Busy day, huh?
It's kind of weird though, people seeing you in handcuffs, they give you this weird look, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, okay, number one, I didn't kill nobody, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I didn't do nothing. I'm a good girl.
In the short clip, we hear G. Rose telling an officer who's supervising her until the detective comes into the room that she needs to take a seizure disorder medicine and go to the hospital eventually. This is a lie, as she knows that she does not have a seizure disorder, nor does she need to go to the hospital for medication. She immediately follows that lie with telling the officer that it's odd people look at her when she's wearing handcuffs as if she did something wrong, but in fact, she is a good girl and she hasn't done anything wrong. After about 45 minutes of rapport building between the supervising officer and G. Rose, we get this little clip here.
I'm gonna hit my boyfriend upside the head if he did something. He got arrested back last year for watching porn at a McDonald's. I told him never do that again.
That's an eye, okay?
He sure got an earful from me.
Completely unprompted, Rose tells the officer that last year Nick had gotten arrested for watching porn at a McDonald's. The truth here gets found out much later in the case, where in fact it is found out that Nick was openly masturbating in public at a McDonald's, for which he was arrested and convicted. After about another 20 minutes of chit-chat with the supervising officer, finally the detective comes in and starts to discuss the beginnings of the case with Rose. And here I will insert as much as possible from this interaction.
Good. You alright? Good. Yeah. Alright, well, Gypsy, I'm here and I'm going to get a little bit of information from you. So, since this is the first time I've ever met you, okay, so, what is the correct spelling of your first name?
It's Gypsyrose. And my middle initial is A.
Okay.
And my last name is Blanchard.
B-L-A-N-C-H-A.
Blanchard is Blanchard.
Blanchard, okay, with an E, okay. Alright, and your date of birth, Gypsy?
Is 7/27/1995. On here they have 91 because let me make this a long story, but
Okay, sure.
me and my mother are Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Okay.
And my birth certificate was washed away in Katrina.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they messed up a long time ago. They messed up the paperwork, and it said 1991, but it's actually 95.
Okay.
I'm going to pause right here to bring attention to the little detail G. Rose has just shared with the detective. She tells the detective that she was born one year, but that the year on her medical risk card that she's currently wearing in the interrogation room has a different year. She explains to the detective that this is because her birth certificate was washed away in Hurricane Katrina years ago. The Hurricane Katrina part is really important to the story because it was the way that Dee Dee was able to fabricate medical records. When Hurricane Katrina hit, millions of medical records were lost. And this worked to a perfect advantage for Dee Dee when she relocated to Louisiana and asked doctors to fill in new forms. And she was bringing in information just vocally about what she thought Rose had, the symptoms Rose had before, the diagnoses Rose had before, and this all accumulated into basically a brand new medical record showing on paper proof that Rose had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, vision impairments, hearing impairments, all of which were completely fabricated by Dee Dee with the excuse that her actual medical records had been lost during Hurricane Katrina.
Well, Gypsy, we are here investigating something, so I do need to talk with you about some things, okay?
I'm thankful because I have no idea why I'm here.
Okay.
Nobody will tell me anything.
Yeah, that's fine, and that's kind of why we're here, to kind of help you out with that, okay? So, I am going to just read your Miranda, just share real quick, okay? And as I'm reading this, if you don't understand something, I want you to stop me and say that you don't understand, okay? It's not being rude, it's not in fight or anything, okay? And just let you know. How much schooling do you have?
Unfortunately, I was homeschooled, but my education is kind of scattered, so I have the basic of a third grader.
Okay. Do you know how to read and write, okay, and everything? Okay, good.
Not too much spell, very good, but I could read.
Okay. How would you say your comprehension level is?
Good.
Good. Okay. Okay. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to your lawyer. Have your lawyer present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be going to represent you before any question if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Did you understand everything that I read you? Okay. Do you have a cell phone number?
No.
No, not at all. Did you have a home phone?
My mom's phone.
Okay. What's that number?
417-833-8501.
501. Okay. Do you ever do anything on the computer? Do you ever play games or anything on the computer? Do you ever mess with the computer or anything like that?
I don't really have a computer.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever have a cell phone that you played around on or anything like that? No? Okay. No laptop or cable
My
fire or
mom
anything?
didn't let me use mine because she was like, it's unsafe. So.
Oh, really? Why did she feel like that was unsafe?
My mom tended to be overprotective.
Okay. Did she? Okay. All right. That's understandable. I want to tell you that what I've got to talk to you about, if you're involved in this, you need to tell me that now. Okay?
I'm completely 100% honest.
And let me talk for just a second, okay? But if you're involved in this, then you need to be honest with me. You need to tell me now and not wait till later. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want you to understand that there's just some things going on that you need to be made aware of, and I think that you're aware of it, okay? All right? My concern at this point, let me back up with something. You're here. Do you know where you're at right now?
Yes.
Okay, where are you at right now?
I'm at the Waukesha Police Department.
Okay. All right. And how did you lived in Missouri at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you get from Missouri to here?
Not about a week ago, it was, it all started when, I met my boyfriend, Nick.
Okay.
And, we met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But,
Let me back up for just a second, okay? Earlier when I said, let's be honest with each other, okay? I'll be honest with you as long as you're honest with me, okay? And I want you to understand that your honesty goes a long ways, okay? You don't want something in this nature to be like a big snowball. We'll use that as an example, okay? You don't want that snowball to be so big that you know how when you pack a snowball and it's real small, and what happens when you start rolling it down a hill? It's bigger, okay? And what happens if you start telling lies? They get bigger. And you don't remember which ones you said, which ones you told. soon as that thing gets so big, it goes down the bottom of the hill and it crashes into a lot of people, okay? I mean, a lot of people, all right? And it hurts a lot of people, right? Because it's so big, it crashes and hurts them. Now, if you're telling the truth, that's not going to happen, isn't that right? Okay, so that's kind of why I want you to be honest with me about this, okay? About some things, all right? So, we need to, I'm here, okay? Because I don't think that this is something that you, the intention wasn't there. You know, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I think that you're a smart person, okay? I think that you know, sometimes you get dealt bad hand, and I think sometimes that's what's happening with you, okay? And I want you to understand that you need to be honest with me. And if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me, okay? Your mom's dead, okay? Now, what I want to ask you is, your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay? Just hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay? Remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with a pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along, you know how you got a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay? When you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right? Okay? And you take that pencil and you're writing along with your story. Well, sometimes some people make mistakes when they write stuff down, don't they? We've all made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, right? You ever made a mistake in your life? And I've made mistakes in my life. And hang on just a second, okay? When you're writing this stuff down, all of a sudden you make a mistake. Well, what do you do with that mistake? You take that pencil and you flip it over and you start erasing stuff, okay? And you erase it and you recorrect it. And you take that pencil and then you rewrite your story, okay? And I kind of think that's where you're at with this tonight, okay? That you have a chance to rewrite your story. And I think that that's what you can do, is you can rewrite your story tonight, okay? Like I said earlier, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. You know, I don't think that that's you at all. And you're not out here, you know, doing things that are so bad that nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to be around you. I don't think that's you, okay? But what I do think, okay, what I do think is there's some stuff going on that you and I need to talk about. And why these things happen, okay? And that's where we're at with this, okay? Now, I want you to understand something. That you need to be, look at me, okay? Look at me for just a second, okay? You're in a situation where you can help yourself right now, okay? And that's what you need to do, okay? So we've got to rewrite history. We've got to rewrite some things, don't we? Okay? And I think that's where we're at with all this, right? What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom.
Okay, listen to me, okay, sweetheart? You know what happened to your mom, okay? You know exactly. Sweetheart, listen to me. Let's not go down that road of taking your pencil and writing a bunch of mistakes down. And then when you get to a certain point, that paper's gone, and guess what? You can't erase it, can you?
No.
You can't erase it anymore. You want that?
No.
I don't think you do. I think you're smart enough to understand where we're at with this, okay? I think you know, okay? And I know that you know, all right? I wouldn't be here if I didn't know. And I know the answer to a lot of these questions, okay? I already know them, okay? I know them, and I'm giving you a chance to be honest with me, okay? Because you don't want this thing to spiral out of control, okay?
No.
Your boyfriend's in here, okay?
He's here.
He's in here, okay? All right? And do you think that we've not talked to people?
No, I know.
Listen to me before you say a whole lot. Do not dig yourself in a bunch of lies, because what's going to happen, that snowball's going to get so huge, sweetheart, that it's going to explode on you, and you're never, ever going to dig yourself out of it. So I want to know, okay, why? Why did you guys hurt your mom? Okay,
We would never.
sweetheart, look at me. Look at me. I've got kids. I've been doing this for a long time.
I know, sir.
And I want you to understand something. Don't dig yourself out. Don't go down that path, okay? Listen to me for a second.
Finally, after 25 minutes of Detective Hancock reassuring Rose over and over and over again that truth was going to be the only way that she could save herself from the situation, she finally opens up.
That's all I know.
So why do you think Nick did this?
I didn't say he did.
Sweetheart, I already know. I've already talked to people, okay? And right now,
He said he hated my mom, but because my mom didn't want us to be together. But I was getting on my mom's nerves. Her nerve medicine was running out. Her patience was getting very thin for me, sticking up for him every time.
good job, I'm proud of you. You did a good job.
And so she asked me to stay away from him, and I promised her I would.
Okay.
And then she just said, well, if you want to go, go. I guess out of love she did that, because she wanted me to be happy.
So why did this happen to your mom? What was the reason for it?
I don't know. All I know is that
Why didn't it hurt her? Sweetheart, what was his reason behind this? Go back to that why.
I can't see why. He knows I love my mom. He knows that she's the most important thing to me.
So why do you think he did this to her?
He only said something to me that he said that it's us against the world, and that he's gonna protect me no matter what, and that we were gonna get married and everything, and nothing was gonna stop us.
Good. Even your mom. So he took care of that, didn't he?
What do you mean? I don't think he could ever hurt her. I mean, he's very sweet. He's very kind. I mean, he doesn't like police that much. He's kind of a radicalist, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
But,
Sweetheart, your mom loves you very much. So we're not going to go off on what Nick believes and what he doesn't believe. Okay? But we're going to start talking about why Nick did this to your mom. And you know why he did this. Don't let your friends down. Don't let those ones that still are there and got your back and still love you, don't let them down. Don't do that to them. Because every one of them still love you. Let's not do that to them. I don't want to do that to
I
them.
honestly would never hurt my mom, but I'm not.
But why did Nick hurt her? Now's the time to be truthful, sweetheart. No more lies.
The only reason I could think of is because he wanted me to himself.
Okay.
Because my mom kept getting in the way of us being together.
Sure she did. She didn't like Nick. She didn't want her little baby girl to grow up. She wanted to keep her little baby girl young, didn't she?
She said that there was something dangerous about him. She had a way of reading people.
Okay.
And she said that he seems like the head in a closet type of person with the kind of murders and kills and
Your
like
mom was right.
Jeffrey Dahmer kind of person.
You think your mom was right? You know your mom was right. You hit it right on the nail on the head, sweetheart. You know your mom was right when she said that. Should know what? Okay. Then how should you have listened to her?
I should have broke up with him.
Okay. Should you tried to stop him? Was it too strong?
He was very strong.
Was it hard for you to try to stop him? It was very hard for you to try to stop him, wasn't it? He's too strong, wasn't he? Yeah, I see that. Look at me. Did you try to stop him? Okay. Hey, buddy, look at me. I'm very proud of you for that. Okay, this is about a step in my direction. Okay. How did you try to stop him? Did you try to pull the knife away from him? Was that a yes? I can't guess with your nodding, so that's why I'm asking you. It looks like you're shaking your head up and down. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. What did he do with the knife after all this was done?
I'm sorry that I lied to you from the beginning. I'll tell you the truth all now.
Okay. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I love him so much, but maybe he can get help now.
Okay.
For his silent ways.
Maybe you can.
He killed my mom.
You killed your mom.
Yes, I know it.
How did you do that?
He was supposed to come and visit me.
Okay.
And I thought we were gonna go outside and we're just gonna sit together for a while on the porch. And
Out at your mom's house?
yeah.
Okay.
And he came inside and he started walking to my mom's room, and I told him that he needed to go outside. We need to go outside.
What was your mom doing at that point? Was she asleep?
She was asleep, and I got up to use the restroom. And at that point, he had put me in the bathroom, and he had locked the door.
Okay.
And he went to my mom's room, and I heard her cry. I heard him scream for my name.
You heard your mom crying? You heard your mom crying? And you heard your mom calling out your name? But
And I screamed.
she was screaming.
And
I love you, sweetie.
and he opened the door, and he was covered. His hands had blood on it, and he had cut himself on his finger.
You know if it was his left hand or his right hand?
It was, gosh, it was his hand.
Okay.
And what happened was, he commanded me to clean him up,
Okay.
and
How did you do that?
I cleaned things up with wipes, and,
With like, what kind of wipes?
baby wipes.
Baby wipes? Okay. What did you do with those baby wipes?
Threw it
Like in the bathroom trash or
in the garbage.
going in the garbage? Okay. Was that,
You don't know how he is.
okay.
You don't know how violent.
I know.
You don't know how he controls me.
Listen to me. I know. Go ahead with your story, okay? You're doing good. Proud of you.
I was in shock, and then he took me to my bedroom, and he made me take off all my toys off the bed,
So it made you take all your toys off your bed? Okay.
and he raped me,
And he raped you?
and then after he was finished, he made me grab my bag, and
Grab your bag?
my bag to pack stuff,
Okay. What was in the backpack?
stuff like soap and things, clothes. He picked out clothes for me.
Okay. What did the backpack look like?
It's a black backpack that says Facebook.
From this point on, the detective gathers details about the day, details I'm assuming he is using to be able to fact check her later on via evidence. But what I do want to zero in on is exactly how much her story changed from the interrogation room to the courthouse.
Is that better?
That's much better. How old are you?
27.
Where were you born?
Graceland, Louisiana.
Where were you living in the summer of 2015? In June of 2015?
Springfield, Missouri.
Do you remember the address?
I don't remember now. I'm sorry.
How long had you lived at that address in Springfield?
About 7 years.
And prior to that, where did you live?
Slidell, Louisiana.
And when did you move to Missouri?
In 2005.
And who did you move to Missouri with?
My mother,
And what was her name?
Claudina Blanchard.
Did she go by any other names?
Dee Dee.
So if I say Dee Dee, you'll know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know a Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes, sir.
And when did you meet Nicholas Godejohn?
In October of 2012.
How did you meet him?
On an online Christian dating website.
Do you remember the name of that site?
ChristianDatingForFree.com.
How old were you when you met Nick?
About 21.
In June of 2015, what did you consider your relationship to Nick to be? What kind of relationship?
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
And when did you become boyfriend and girlfriend?
In October 2012.
When did you first meet Nick in person?
March of 2015.
So between October of 2012 and March of 2015, you hadn't actually met Nick in person?
That is correct.
What type of relationship did you have during that period of time?
Online relationship.
And by online, what do you mean?
Strictly communicating through Facebook.
Any other ways other than Facebook?
Instant text messaging. Emails.
All by way of computer and cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Did you send videos to each other?
Yes, sir.
Prior to March of 15, when you indicated you met Mr. Godejohn for the first time in person, had your mother met him?
No, sir.
Did she know he existed?
No, sir.
Why is it she didn't know?
Because it was a secret relationship and my mother would never allow me to have a boyfriend.
Why not?
Because she controlled every aspect of my life.
Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you were not allowed to date?
Yes.
How many times do you think?
I don't remember.
Did you and your mother ever have any discussions about whether you were ever going to be able to date?
Yes, sir.
Did you and Nick talk about that?
We may have.
What did your mother say about your ability to date going forward?
She said that it would never happen, that she would never allow it.
What about marriage? Did you and Nick ever talk about marriage?
Yes.
Did you and your mother ever discuss whether or not you'd be able to get married someday?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said that she wouldn't allow it.
In June of 2015, were you in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did Nick know you were in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Why were you in a wheelchair in June of 2015?
Because my mother forced me to be in one.
Do you know why you were forced to be in a wheelchair?
No, sir. She just forced me to be in one.
And how long had you been in a wheelchair as of June of 2015?
Since probably I was about 8 years old.
Was there a time between when you first were put in a wheelchair in June of 2015 that you figured out that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
When was that?
I always knew that I didn't need the wheelchair.
And how did you know that?
Because I could walk.
Did you and your mother obtain any kind of advantage by you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
What kind of advantage did you obtain?
Financial, attention, charity.
Financially mean money.
Yes, sir.
Did you obtain money as a result of you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How did that work out? How did that happen?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of that. There's been no connection that defendant knew any of this.
Well, I'm assuming, Mr. Perry, you're going to tie this up.
Well, right now. Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why you were required to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
I'll overrule the objection.
Could you tell the jury why it is that you obtained money as a result of being in a wheelchair?
Because people felt sorry for me.
And they would do what?
And Judge, I'm just going to object to general relevance at this point.
I'll allow for the time being. You may answer, ma'am.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
I asked you why you obtained an advantage for being in a wheelchair. You said people gave you money. And then I think my next question is, why did they give you money?
Because they felt sorry for me. They believed the lie. They believed the fraud.
When did you tell Nick about the wheelchair? That you being in a wheelchair?
I think maybe a month or so after we met.
When did you tell Nick that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
A year into our relationship.
So if your relationship began in October of 2012, it would have been sometime in 2013 that you first told him that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair.
That is correct.
Were you ill during this period of time?
No, sir.
Did you ever tell Nick that you were ill or that you had illnesses?
I told him that I had illnesses. Yes, sir.
Did you ever tell him that you really weren't ill?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell him you really weren't ill?
The same time that I told him that I didn't need to be in the wheelchair.
What illnesses did you believe you had?
Cancer, muscular dystrophy. I needed glasses. I needed hearing aids. Seizure disorder. And I can't remember what else.
And when did you figure out that you weren't actually sick?
I started to piece things together when I was about 19 years old. Then I didn't understand the full extent of how healthy I was until after I got arrested.
So even at the time, even as of June of 2015, you still believed you had some of the illnesses?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever run away?
Yes, sir.
When did you, and by run away I mean from your mother,
Yes, sir.
when did you run away?
In the spring of 2011.
Did you tell Nick about that?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell Nick about that?
I don't remember the exact time.
Was it before your mother's murder?
Yes.
Did you ever consider running away after that? After you ran away in 2011?
Yes, but I knew that it would end badly.
What happened when you ran away? Tell us about running away in 2011.
It was in the middle of the night, and I packed a small bag of stuff, and my mother was asleep. So I left the house, and I met up with one of my friends
And where did you go?
to first at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, and then to his house.
And at some point, did your mom figure out where you were?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
4 hours later,
What happened when your mother figured out where you were?
she took me back home. She smashed my computer and my cell phone. She chained me to a bed for 2 weeks.
Did you ever tell Nick about all that?
Yes.
The only time you ran away? Did you receive any other physical abuse as a result of running away other than what you've already told the jury?
Yes.
What other abuse?
Hitting, punching, starvation.
Did you tell Nick everything that had happened between you and your mother during the course of your relationship with him?
Most, but not all.
All the stuff we've talked about is stuff you actually did tell him,
Yes.
and stuff he knew as of June 2015.
Yes.
Did you and Nick ever talk about any disabilities he may have?
Yes.
What disabilities did you understand him to have?
Asperger's syndrome.
Did you even know what that was?
No, sir.
Now, you indicated that you paid for this trip to Missouri by Nick in 2015. What all did you pay for?
I paid for the Greyhound bus ticket. I paid for the hotel and for eating money.
And how did you pay for this? How did you get the money to Nick?
I stole the money from my mother and I sent it to him via the mail.
Gypsy, if you wouldn't mind speaking up just a bit. We're getting a little soft.
Sorry.
I think you said you put it in the mail?
Yes, sir.
In what form was the money?
Cash.
Do you know how much you sent him that time?
I don't know the exact amount. Probably about $800.
At some point, you decided to kill your mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
When was that?
Thoughts of it started a year prior to the murder actually happening.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
Did you and Nick ever talk about this?
Yes,
Who initially brought up killing your mother?
I did.
Why not just tell somebody rather than kill your mother? Why was that not an option?
I truly didn't believe that nobody would believe me if I told anyone. My mother had legal documents in place saying that I was incompetent, and I thought that meant that if I went to anyone, the police, or told anyone, she would just have them convinced that I was making everything up.
At some point after you initially considered killing your mother, did you ever change your mind?
Yes,
Do you know when that was?
about 2 weeks before it happened.
Why did you change your mind and decide not to kill her?
I started having doubts, second thoughts.
Did you ever then change your mind back to the initial decision to kill her?
Yes.
Why did you change your mind back to killing her?
My mother and I got into an argument 2 days prior to the murder occurring. And Nick asked me, are we still doing this? Am I still coming there to do this? Yes or no? And I said yes.
As we can see, not just in the way that Rose answers, but in everything that she answers, there is a difference between the interrogation room and the courtroom. And now I want to fast forward a couple of years while she is serving in prison and having an interview with the infamous Dr. Phil.
Gypsy lived her life by the phrase, "Mother knows best."
Gypsy was born perfectly healthy. Everything seemed fine. About 3 months old, Dee Dee told me that she started having seizures and sleep apnea.
Where's BB? Don't know, huh?
Dee Dee told me that Gypsy had problems with her salivary glands. One of her seizures made her paralyzed from mid-thigh down.
The Dee Dee said she wasn't going to live to be 20 years old.
When people would ask me, oh, what Gypsy has wrong with her, I'm like, there was so much. The list is shorter of what she doesn't have.
Gypsy was wheelchair-bound and suffered from muscular dystrophy and leukemia.
Neighbors say the two were inseparable, and they were very friendly to those who lived in the neighborhood.
Sweet, loving, caring, just full of life.
Hurricane Katrina played a big part in their lives. Their house was devastated. They got relocated to Missouri. At that point, she's telling me she's got cancer. She's shaving her head. So that was pretty elaborate to go from chromosome disorder now she's got cancer.
Gypsy and Dee Dee Blanchard, a mother-daughter team who came to Springfield as self-described Hurricane Katrina evacuees, with a story of suffering that brought an outpouring of support.
When they moved into their home here, it was built by Habitat for Humanity. Hundreds of volunteers worked on the home. It was built with special wheelchair modifications for her daughter.
It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales, they're real.
Things are not always as they appear.
Breaking this morning, authorities are investigating a homicide just north of Springfield.
Deputies discovered the body of 48-year-old Dee Dee Blanchard inside a home early this morning.
When police found Dee Dee Blanchard violently stabbed to death, they discovered her young special needs daughter was missing, and only her wheelchair was left behind.
No one in the neighborhood could comprehend how anyone would want to harm Dee Dee Blanchard and her handicapped daughter, Gypsy.
Authorities are still looking for Dee Dee's 19-year-old daughter, Gypsy.
What horrors could be happening to the sweet little girl who had already suffered her whole life, battling a laundry list of ailments like leukemia and paralysis. Everyone feared the worst for innocent Gypsy Rose.
Friends of 48-year-old Dee Dee Blanchard and her daughter Gypsy called police after authorities say 2 disturbing messages were left on Dee Dee's Facebook page.
The victim's Facebook page, which she shared with her daughter, had a post stating, "The bee is dead."
A missing 19-year-old has been found safe in another state. They found Gypsy in Wisconsin.
She is okay. We do have another person of interest in custody.
Police soon discovered a shocking web of deceit, and that deceit led to murder.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her boyfriend, Nicholas Godijon, are both charged with premeditated murder.
I didn't get a call from the police department about it or anything. We saw it on the local news.
Courtroom this morning.
They got her in handcuffs. I'm like, she's walking. Wow.
5 foot, 99 pounds, Gypsy Blanchard pleaded not guilty to killing her mother, Dee Dee.
It didn't take long for me to realize that if she can walk, what else has been a lie all these years?
Tonight, police are investigating a bizarre murder that had many people in Missouri fooled.
What you see behind me is the photo right here of a girl who supposedly has disabilities, along with her mother, and now next to it, what she looks like in her prison uniform without the glasses and getup.
Her mom had to have been making her fake her illness all her life.
Dee Dee Blanchard suffered from what most people refer to as severe Munchausen syndrome by proxy, also known as factitious disorder imposed on another, and kept Gypsy a prisoner her whole life by convincing her that she was victimized by a series of debilitating diseases. All she wanted was to be free.
I think Gypsy had her mom killed so she could finally live the life that she wanted.
She just had enough and snapped.
This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
Today, Gypsy is here in the Chillicothe Correctional Center in a very different kind of prison. Dr. Phil.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Let's just start with kind of where you are now. You're in prison because you took a plea deal, correct?
Correct.
You pled to what?
10 years incarceration for second-degree murder.
How did you plead to the Class A felony of murder in the second degree?
Guilty.
Should you be in this prison?
To be honest, I have complicated feelings about that. I believe firmly that no matter what, murder is not okay. But at the same time, I don't believe I deserve as many years as I got.
But your mother is dead.
She is, yes.
And she was murdered.
Yes, sir.
And you were involved.
I was.
And but for you initiating this sequence of events, she would still be alive.
Yes, sir.
So in that sense, you are responsible for her death.
Yes, sir.
What would be a just punishment?
I'm not really certain on that. I do believe that I do deserve to spend some time in prison for that crime, but also I understand why it happened, and I don't believe that I'm in the right place to get the help that I need.
Are you glad your mother's dead?
No, sir. I'm glad that I'm out of that situation, but I am not happy she's dead.
Why did you want your mother dead at the time?
At the time, I knew that I was being abused, but I didn't know exactly what kind of abuse it was. I just knew that I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things, and my mother was the reason. She would force me to be in a wheelchair and force me to go to doctor's appointments that I didn't need, and I just wanted that life to stop. So ultimately, I never wanted her dead. I just wanted that life to stop, that life to be dead, the life I was living.
Right. Well, let's talk about that. What's the earliest thing you remember in your childhood?
While Gypsy was 23 during the time of her arrest and nearly 25 when she was convicted of second-degree murder, her deceptive path began much earlier. The lies we hear told in the initial interrogation interview were nothing more than a pre-programmed form of deception she had learned from her mom. It is easy to sit back and listen to the way G. Rose twists half-truths into half-believable stories and think to yourself, she's simply a pathological lying murderer. How easy would it be for you, listener, to hear some nuanced discussion on this case? In a 2021 article titled "The Concept of Lying, Moral Reasoning, and Children's Willingness to Lie at the Request of an Adult," researchers dig into how children conceptualize lying and if they are willing to lie upon the request of a trusted adult. As a part of the research, all the children were asked if they recognize what lying is when someone reports information that doesn't correspond with reality. In all the grades across all the children, they all answered that they did in fact know what lying is and how it doesn't correspond to reality. Additionally, the research showed that almost half of the children admitted to lying at their mother's or father's request, while 1/3 admitted to doing so after a teacher's request. The given justifications were mainly obedience or consequence avoidance. For example, a boy in the 2nd grade said, "I will tell a lie because it is an order from the family." A second boy from the 3rd grade said, "I will tell a lie to not be punished." A girl from 1st grade explained that she will tell a lie because mother asked. And another one from 1st grade said, "I will tell it because mother ordered it." How is this research relevant to this case, and why do I bring this up? Well, Dee Dee was Rose's mother and sole caregiver. Dee Dee could not benefit financially from Rose's falsified illnesses if Rose didn't go along with every lie the entire way through. If it is understood that children have a general sense of obedience for their caregivers, and it is understood that a fear of consequences fuels lies, then it is understood why Rose as a child would lie for her mother throughout the entirety of their relationship. Presumably, in Rose's perspective, she believed that she could not be free of this dynamic until her mother was dead. In Rose's assumed perspective, she has been getting away with lying to the world around her whole life. In Rose's assumed perspective, telling the truth to the question, "Why did you kill your mother?" was not an option. It would unravel every lie she's ever been complicit to, and it would unravel years of fear for what the truth means. Can you, listener, think of a time where your parents asked you to lie for them? Maybe you're an older sibling and your parents asked you to lie to your younger sibling so that they can still believe in the magic of Christmas, that they could still believe in Santa Claus. Or maybe, if you're like me, and your story could align a little bit closer to G. Rose's, you've told more egregious lies. Without making this entire story about myself, I do want to reflect on a time when I was young and my mother asked me to lie to my teachers about what was going on at home. She feared that if my teachers knew the violence that was happening at home, then something very, very bad would happen to all of us, which would include me getting taken away from the family. Because of this fear, and because I understood that this was a rule my mom had, I made sure to keep that lie the entirety of my childhood. As I grew older, it became more and more difficult to be honest about horrific things that would happen in my life, because I felt like in some way or another, I was still going to break my mom's promise. I know, it's hard to have empathy for somebody who's been convicted of murder, for somebody who's been lying their whole life. But I urge you to consider that all of these habit-formed lies began when she was just a child. It had become second nature to use deception for protection, both for herself, her mother, her home. And perhaps consider that there is redemption for G. Rose. Not necessarily for the murder, but maybe, just maybe, there is a way to unlearn how to lie. G. Rose has stated now that she's out of prison. Her number one priority is healing and therapy. And I personally believe she deserves that chance. Thank you.